What if I told you that a skinny boy from a tiny Austrian village, a boy who grew up in a home with no car, no phone, and not even hot water, would one day become the greatest bodybuilder in history, Hollywood's highest-paid actor, a billionaire businessman, and even the governor of California? It sounds like a fantasy, but it's real. And his name is Arnold Schwarzenegger. His story is not just about success. It's about obsession, risk, struggle, reinvention. It's about proving again and again that no dream is too big if you dare to chase it. But before the movies, before the politics, before the legend, there was just a boy. Arnold was born on July 30th, 1947, in the tiny Austrian village of Thal. His father, Gustav, was a strict policeman, a man of discipline and rules. His mother, Aurelia, was kind, but their home was tough, cold, and filled with demands. Life in Thal was simple and hard. No luxuries, no television, no distractions, just routine. Church on Sundays, school, chores, wood stoves for warmth in the winter, and outside those walls, the shadow of World War II still lingered over Austria. Arnold's father expected him to follow a normal path: hard work, discipline, service to the country. But Arnold, even as a boy, he felt something different, something bigger. He loved sports. At first it was soccer, but at 15 years old, something changed everything. Arnold walked into a small gym, smelled the sweat, saw the weights, and felt the fire inside him ignite. Bodybuilding. From that moment, it wasn't just interest. It was obsession. He would pin photos of his idol, Reg Park, to his wall. Reg Park wasn't just a bodybuilder. He was also a movie star. And in Arnold's young mind, the path was clear. Build the greatest body in the world, move to America, become a movie star, and live a life beyond imagination. But in Thal, no one believed it. Arnold trained with a passion that confused everyone around him. He lifted old weights in small gyms. He pushed his body beyond exhaustion. And when the gym was closed on Sundays, he broke in just so he wouldn't miss a workout. That's right, Arnold literally broke into the gym to train harder. His friends thought he was crazy. His father told him to focus on real goals. But Arnold's vision was too clear to let anyone stop him. At night, while others slept, he dreamed of America. He dreamed of Hollywood. He dreamed of hearing his name cheered around the world. Still, in Austria, there was one road every young man had to travel: the army. At 18, Arnold joined the Austrian military for his mandatory service year. But the army schedule didn't match Arnold's obsession with bodybuilding. He wanted to train. He wanted to compete. And then came the chance: a junior bodybuilding contest in Germany. Arnold knew he had to go, but the army wouldn't let him. So what did he do? He went anyway. Arnold sneaked out of the army, traveled to the contest, and stepped onto the stage. His muscles glistened, his confidence burned, and he won. But victory came with a price. When he returned, the army punished him with a week in military jail. Most people would call that a mistake. Arnold called it worth it. Because he learned something powerful. To win big, you sometimes have to risk big. By the time his military service ended, Arnold wasn't just another soldier. He was a rising star in bodybuilding. At just 20 years old, he became the youngest man ever to win the Mr. Universe title. And yet, even with that trophy in his hands, Arnold's vision stretched further. Austria wasn't big enough. Europe wasn't big enough. His dream was America, the land of opportunity, the place where Reg Park had built his legend, the place where Arnold believed he belonged. But leaving home wasn't easy. He spoke almost no English, he had barely any money, he had no promise of success. What he did have was belief. In 1968, Arnold boarded a plane, a one-way ticket to Los Angeles. The moment the wheels touched down, he stepped into a new world. Bright lights, muscle beaches, movie billboards, endless possibilities. And there was only one question now. Could a poor Austrian immigrant conquer America? Arnold was ready to find out. But what he would achieve in America would not only shock the world, it would change bodybuilding, Hollywood, and even politics forever. The Rebel Soldier. Arnold Schwarzenegger had left behind the quiet hills of Thal, Austria, and stepped into the chaos of Los Angeles. The year was 1968. He was just 21 years old. Picture it, a young man with barely any English, only a few dollars in his pocket, and muscles that turned heads everywhere he went. For most people, that would be intimidating. For Arnold, it was thrilling. Los Angeles was alive with energy. Cars roaring down Sunset Boulevard, surfboards stacked on beaches, Hollywood lights blinking in the distance. And then there was Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, the mecca of bodybuilding. Inside those walls, legends trained. Franco Columbu, Dave Draper, Frank Zane. But when Arnold walked in, people stopped and stared. He wasn't just strong, he was a giant, towering, confident, and hungry. Still, Arnold wasn't content with admiration. He wanted domination. Every morning, he trained until his body screamed. Every night, he studied English, teaching himself words by watching American television and reading newspapers. He knew he couldn't just be a muscle-bound immigrant. He had to become a man the world could understand. By 1970, just 2 years after arriving, Arnold won his first Mr. Olympia title at the age of 23, the youngest champion in history. But he wasn't done. He went on to win 7 more, cementing himself as the undisputed king of bodybuilding. His body was sculpted like marble, his confidence unshakable. Yet here's the surprising truth. Arnold wasn't just winning contests. He was reinventing them. And in 1977, the world saw it firsthand in the documentary Pumping Iron. The film followed Arnold's training and rivalry with Lou Ferrigno. It wasn't just about muscles, it was about personality, strategy, mind games. And Arnold? He was the master. There's a famous scene where he teases Lou, smiling, relaxed, while Lou looks nervous and uncertain. Arnold understood psychology. He knew bodybuilding wasn't just about how you looked, it was about how you made your opponent feel. That confidence carried him everywhere. But Arnold's ambitions didn't stop at bodybuilding. From the very beginning, he had a plan. Use bodybuilding as a springboard to Hollywood. The problem? Hollywood wasn't interested. Casting directors took one look at him and said, "Your body is too big. Your accent is too thick. And your name? Forget it. No one can even pronounce Schwarzenegger." But Arnold laughed at them. He told them the same thing he told himself every morning. "I'll prove you wrong." And in 1976, he got his chance. A small film called Stay Hungry. Arnold played a quiet bodybuilder who barely spoke, but when the movie came out, critics were stunned. He was magnetic, raw, real. He even won a Golden Globe for Best Newcomer. Suddenly, the man they said couldn't act was winning awards. Arnold had cracked the door open, but the real breakthrough was yet to come. It was the early 1980s, and Hollywood was hungry for heroes. Not ordinary men, not quiet faces. They wanted giants, warriors, icons. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was waiting. In 1982, the world saw him as Conan the Barbarian, sword in hand, muscles gleaming under torchlight, a barbarian who crushed his enemies and became a king. The movie exploded at the box office. Arnold had arrived. But he was only getting started, because in just 2 years, one role would turn him from a star into a legend. A role with just 17 lines of dialogue. A role that would cement his name in film history. A role where he would look into the camera and promise the world, "I'll be back." The King of Hollywood. The year was 1984. A low-budget sci-fi film was about to hit theaters. The studio didn't expect much. The director was a relative unknown, James Cameron. The star? A bodybuilder turned actor with a strange last name. But when The Terminator premiered, everything changed. Audiences sat in shock as Arnold Schwarzenegger appeared on screen, not as the hero, but as the villain. Cold, silent, unstoppable. A machine wrapped in human flesh. His presence was terrifying. His voice, unforgettable. And then came the line. Only 2 words. "I'll be back." The theater erupted. It wasn't just a catchphrase. It was a promise, a warning, a legend in the making. The film made millions, and Arnold's career blasted into the stratosphere. The man once told his accent was too thick, his body too big, his name too strange, was now the most talked about actor in the world. And he didn't stop there. From 1985 to 1995, Arnold owned the box office. Commando, Predator, The Running Man, Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, True Lies. Every year another hit, another unforgettable role. He wasn't just playing characters, he was redefining what an action hero looked like. In Predator, he battled an alien hunter in the jungle, covered in mud and sweat, every muscle straining for survival. In Total Recall, he twisted reality itself, leaving audiences questioning what was real and what was dream. In Kindergarten Cop, he showed he could make us laugh just as easily as he could make us cheer. That was Arnold's genius. He wasn't just muscles and explosions. He was charm, humor, timing. He made us believe a giant could be funny, that a bodybuilder could be vulnerable, that a one-liner could live forever. And here's a hidden gem. Arnold wasn't just acting. Behind the scenes, he was shaping Hollywood itself. He negotiated smart contracts, took profit shares from films, and carefully built his image as not just a star, but a brand. By the mid-1990s, Arnold wasn't just the biggest action hero. He was the most bankable actor on Earth. Studios lined up to work with him. Kids copied his catchphrases. Fans filled gyms because of him. He had done it. He had conquered Hollywood. But success has a funny way of creating shadows. As the 90s drew to a close, the action genre began to shift. Audiences wanted something new. Younger stars were rising, and Arnold faced a challenge he'd never faced before: age.
His body, once unstoppable, began to slow. His films weren't pulling the same numbers. Batman and Robin, released in 1997, was mocked endlessly, with Arnold playing Mr. Freeze, spouting ice puns. For the first time in decades, critics were laughing at him, not with him. Most stars would have panicked. Most would have disappeared. But Arnold, he saw an opportunity. Because he had always been more than a bodybuilder, more than an actor. Arnold had always been a strategist. And in 2003, he made a move no one could have predicted. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the boy from Austria, the bodybuilding champion, the Hollywood icon, announced he was running for governor of California. The world gasped. Was this a publicity stunt? A joke? But Arnold was serious. He stepped onto the campaign stage with the same confidence he carried onto a bodybuilding stage. He looked at the crowd and declared, "I came here with nothing, and I will give back everything." The people listened. They believed. And in a stunning victory, Arnold Schwarzenegger became the governor of California. Hollywood's king had traded movie sets for politics, but the story was only beginning. The governor's journey. California, the Golden State. Beaches, mountains, Hollywood, Silicon Valley. A land of dreams, but also of deep problems. By 2003, the state was drowning in debt, scandals, and energy crises. People were frustrated. They wanted change. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger stepped forward. The same man who once stood on bodybuilding stages, smiling and flexing, now stood in front of microphones and flashing cameras, promising something bold: leadership. Most political experts laughed. They said, an actor, a bodybuilder, he's no politician. But those same experts had laughed before, when Arnold said he'd be a bodybuilding champion, when he said he'd conquer Hollywood. Each time, he proved them wrong. And now, he was ready to prove them wrong again. The campaign was unlike anything California had ever seen. Crowds swarmed stadiums just to hear him speak. His movie star charisma, his booming voice, his undeniable presence, it electrified people. And unlike other politicians, Arnold spoke in simple, direct words. He didn't drown voters in details. He spoke from the heart. I came to America with nothing, and because of California, I achieved everything. Now it's time to give back. The people listened. They believed. And everybody voted.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected the 38th governor of California. Overnight, the man once known as the Terminator became the Governator. But the real challenge wasn't winning. It was governing. California was in crisis. Billions of dollars in debt, a crumbling infrastructure, bitter political divisions, and a media waiting to see if this Hollywood outsider would fail. At first, Arnold was brash. He promised sweeping reforms, bold changes. He challenged unions, pushed for ballot initiatives, and acted like the action hero he had always played. But politics isn't a movie. The villains don't fall after one punch. The battles are long, messy, complicated. By 2005, many of his early proposals had been defeated. Critics circled, saying he was finished, that the movie star had finally met a script he couldn't control. But here's the thing about Arnold. He adapts. He studies. He learns. Just like he once studied English, just like he once studied bodybuilding poses, now he studied the art of compromise. He shifted his approach. He worked with Democrats and Republicans. He focused on environmental reforms, pushing California to lead in renewable energy and climate change initiatives. He invested in infrastructure. He made healthcare for children a priority. Slowly, Californians began to respect him, not as a movie star, but as a leader. And here's a surprising hidden gem. Arnold became one of the first Republican governors in America to fully embrace climate change action. He stood up to his own party, declaring that the environment wasn't political, it was personal. He said, "We have to protect this planet for our children." For 7 years, Arnold served as governor. His time wasn't perfect. He faced scandals, budget battles, and criticism. His approval ratings rose and fell like a roller coaster. And in his personal life, storms were brewing. In 2011, after leaving office, a shocking revelation surfaced. Arnold admitted to fathering a child years earlier with a member of his household staff. The news shattered his marriage to Maria Shriver, niece of John F. Kennedy. After 25 years together, the power couple separated. It was perhaps the darkest chapter of Arnold's life. The world saw not the action hero, not the governor, but a flawed man facing consequences. But even in failure, Arnold refused to hide. He admitted his mistakes, took responsibility, and focused on repairing his relationship with his children. And once again, he reinvented himself. When many thought his career was over, Arnold returned to the worlds he knew best: fitness, business, and entertainment. He stepped back into Hollywood, reprising roles in the Expendables and Terminator franchises. He became a global ambassador for climate change, traveling the world to push for renewable energy and environmental awareness. He wrote books, he gave speeches, he inspired millions with his story of resilience. Arnold had lived through victories and scandals, triumphs and heartbreaks. And through it all, he kept moving forward. Because for him, life was never about standing still. It was always about the next challenge. And the next chapter of his journey was about legacy. The legend lives on. When Arnold Schwarzenegger left the governor's mansion in 2011, many wondered if his story had finally reached its end. He had been a champion, a movie star, a political leader. What was left? But Arnold had never believed in endings, only in comebacks. The first step was returning to the screen. Fans around the world cheered when he appeared alongside Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, and other action icons in The Expendables 2. It was a moment of pure nostalgia, muscles, explosions, and one-liners. The kings of 80s and 90s action were back, shoulder to shoulder. Then came Terminator Genesis, Terminator Dark Fate, and other projects. Not every film was a hit, but Arnold didn't care. He wasn't chasing box office glory anymore. He was chasing fun, creativity, and the chance to connect with fans old and new. At the same time, he leaned into something far more personal, his lifelong passion for fitness. Arnold launched the Arnold Sports Festival, which grew into the largest multi-sport event in the world. Bodybuilding, martial arts, weightlifting, dance, strongman competitions. Tens of thousands of athletes came together under his banner. The boy who once lifted rusty weights in Austria was now inspiring the next generation of champions. But Arnold also knew his voice carried power beyond sports. He became a relentless advocate for climate action, pushing clean energy, renewable fuels, and environmental awareness. He spoke at summits, universities, and even the United Nations. He reminded the world that success means nothing if we leave behind a planet unlivable for our children. And here's a surprising hidden gem. Arnold doesn't just talk about clean energy, he lives it. He drives electric cars, converted his Hummer into a hydrogen-powered vehicle, and installed solar panels on his home. For him, it's not a publicity stunt. It's personal. Beyond the spotlight, Arnold has also embraced a new role: mentor. He shares wisdom from decades of victories and defeats in interviews, speeches, and his own newsletter, The Pump Daily. His message is simple but powerful. Start small, stay consistent, never quit. And his story has captured a new generation. In 2023, Netflix released Arnold, a 3-part documentary exploring his life from bodybuilding to Hollywood to politics. For many young fans, it was their first time seeing the full journey: the hunger, the discipline, the mistakes, the comebacks. The legend of Arnold was reborn for a digital age. But perhaps the most inspiring part of Arnold today isn't his movies or his muscles. It's his perspective. At 70+ years old, he speaks openly about aging, about regrets, about the importance of giving back. He spends time with his children, supports charities, and invests in the future rather than clinging to the past. Arnold often says, "You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets." It's a lesson he's lived every day. From a poor boy in Austria to a global icon, his life has been proof that ambition, work, and vision can take you anywhere. And here's another hidden gem. Arnold, despite his fame, still calls himself a simple farm boy from Austria. He never forgets where he came from. The tiny kitchen where his mother cooked, the tiny room where he dreamed of America, the rusty weights that started it all. Today, Arnold Schwarzenegger stands as more than just a man. He's a symbol, a reminder that reinvention is always possible, that no matter your age, your setbacks, your critics, you can rise again. And perhaps that's why people still flock to his words, his films, his legacy. Because in Arnold we see the truth. Strength is not just in muscles, it's in resilience, in courage, in the refusal to quit. So what's next for Arnold? He says he'll never stop. Whether it's new projects, new films, or new campaigns for the planet, he's always looking forward. He believes his best work may still be ahead. And for all of us watching, that's the most inspiring part. Arnold's story is not just about bodybuilding, not just about Hollywood, not just about politics. It's about the relentless pursuit of a dream. It's about daring to be more. It's about turning the impossible into the inevitable. And if his life teaches us anything, it's this. Don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. Don't let doubt write your story. If Arnold Schwarzenegger could rise from a tiny Austrian village to become the world's most famous champion, actor, and governor, then what's stopping you? Because as Arnold himself once said, the worst thing I can be is the same as everybody else. I don't want that. Neither should you. So if this journey through Arnold's incredible life has inspired you, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more legendary stories. Because this channel, just like Arnold's story, is about chasing greatness. And remember, this is not the end of Arnold Schwarzenegger's story, it's only the next beginning.